delighted to be here. I only met Juliet on 3 days ago at the Black History Month event hosted by my good friend, Sid and sister, Council Victoria Bosnia, Speaker of the Harvest Council, and I was told about today's event. And I said, of course, I'll come along. I'll be late, but the general election now coming up, so I had to go campaigning with my party. Victoria was there earlier, although we didn't know that we were both going to be here. But I said I'll come to show my support and say a few words in terms of today's session. So I'll tell you who I am, I'll tell you what the GALA Greater London Authority does, and I'll want a few notes that I've scribbled about the theme of today, which is about life skills for young men and women. But can I just say that our previous speaker, I didn't get your name, but the note that you finished on, I thought was very inspiring. Don't give up. Yes. And also, don't stand still. Because quite frankly, standing still is like going backwards. Right? Either you move forwards, or you stand still or go backwards. But in today's world, no matter whether your personal life, your professional career, the challenges that there are, standing still, no matter what field you are in, small or big, it's about what targets you can get, how strong you are. I'll come to those points later. So, in terms of by way of introduction, my name is Unmesh Desai, and I noticed that it's about UK African diaspora, the sponsor, the title of the meeting, and I'm personally from Africa as well. I was born in East Africa, in Tanzania. My grandfather went there many years ago, 1945, from India, but I personally was born in Tanzania and did my primary schooling there. So I've been a member of the GALA, the Greater London Authority, which is a funny-shaped building next to City Hall. It's called City Hall next to Tower Bridge. I've been a member for 3 years. Before that, I was a councillor for 20 years in the neighbouring borough of Victoria's, London Borough of Newham. My political background was in the community, because everything for me is political, and just say it's political is small, it's not about party politics. And it's about breaking barriers, which means that, talking about how to break barriers. So one of the big problems when I first came in was open, naked racism in East London, racist attacks, policing of minority communities. This was before the days of Stephen Lawrence. And so I got involved in anti-racist movements. And no one is going to, we don't stand on our own feet, no one else is going to do for us. That's the first thing I'll say about today's, because of my contribution. No matter where we come from, week or two set up, no one else is going to do the fighting. Others can help you, but they must help you to stand for yourself. I worked in a law center. I worked in the police research unit for Hackney Council. I qualified as a civil rights lawyer. I worked for a leading civil rights firm doing human rights law. Eventually I became a full-time councillor. So that's my background. But I've been at the GALA for the last 3 years. I'm currently chair of the police committee. So I was asked to say a few words about what the GALA is and how can it be of relevance to you as Londoners. So the GALA is a strategic authority for London. Now, the council in some ways has got more powers to directly impinge upon your lives, in the sense that they are in charge of service delivery. But the GALA at a strategic level has a lot of power. So you've got the elected mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is a police commissioner for London, for instance, police and crime commissioner for London. So the operational side of policing is the commissioner of Metropolitan Police. In terms of budget and the strategic framework, all that is studied through the Mayor's Office of Police and Crime. Transport for London, setting up fares, for instance, that comes under the Mayor's remit. Budgets and planning for the future. Planning itself, there are certain planning applications that are going to come to the Mayor of London. So although it's not got any health powers as such, but it's got a duty to have a health inequality strategy. So transport, policing, housing, what sort of affordable housing developments have been started and so on, how grants are distributed. That's the Mayor of London, but alongside the Mayor of London, there are 25 assembly members, and I'm one of the assembly members. 13 of us have been directly elected, and I'm one of those 13. So I represent City of London, Tower Hamlets, Newham, Barking, and Dagenham. So if you live in those areas in particular, then please don't hesitate to contact me, how I can put you in contact with other agencies. Even if you don't live in that part of London, don't hesitate to contact me. I'll pass you on to my other colleagues who represent those parts, the parts where you live. But we are here to help. So you've got local government and councils with tours on the front line directly, so to speak, in terms of pressure of housing and parking and rubbish bin collections and many important issues which affect the quality of life. Extremely important issue. Then you got the Mayor of London and with his strategic powers, and then you got us as assembly members. Our job is to scrutinize the mayor about how he is performing. So as chair of the police committee, we meet twice a month. One meeting is about current issues, and knife crime in particular is a big issue that it disproportionately affects BME communities, especially our communities from the diaspora, from the African diaspora, the Caribbean diaspora, and so the causes of knife crime are quite complex. The phrase black on black crime, but we've got to look at behind that. What are the reasons? So today I spoke at a meeting of school governors in Tower Hamlets, talking about the reasons why people carry knives, but more importantly, what can we do about it? And then the second meeting of the month, we look at in-depth reviews of issues that affect London. And so we finished a major study on hate crime in London, which has increased because of Brexit and so on. But we now finished looking at sexual assaults. We're now looking at domestic abuse and modern slavery, which is again a big issue in our communities. But always with a view to having recommendations to the mayor to improve the quality of life for Londoners. There are 13 GLA committees: environment, housing, transport, regeneration, policing. I'll give you my card later, so don't take notes, and I'll send you the GLA's report. But also in terms of particular help. So the GLA has relationship with third-party agencies. In terms of young people, the mayor's got a Young Londoners Fund, which is there. Not a lot, but there have been enormous cuts in central government funding to local government. But virtually half of Parliament's budget has disappeared because it relies on central government and they've cut. But what the mayor is doing is to Young Londoners Funds to fund projects that aim to keep young people on the straight and narrow, so to speak. My words, not his, right? So do access stuff like that. There's also, the mayor's got a number of deputy mayors, the deputy mayor in charge of business, I think, is very important because there's an organization called London and Partners, which aims to look at promoting London abroad, but also attracting investment. So I'm trying to work at East London level in terms of how I can ensure that, depending on what sort of Brexit we have, that East London is equipped to meet the challenges. Small business in particular, how they can actually, survive in the harsh climate. London is open. There's a theme of the mayor's campaign. You've got the business mayor for London, deputy business mayor for London, London and Partners. So there are a number of ways that we can interact. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. I've just made a few notes while I was listening to the previous inspiring speaker. I think in some ways we are talking about the same thing. But in terms of my life journey, which I was asked to speak to you about what lessons I've drawn in terms of inspiration, I think vision is important. We've got to all aim high. If you only aim for the ceiling, you'll end up on the floor. But if you aim for the sky, you'll reach the ceiling. Yes. There's some wonderful, sayings in Swahili in particular, which translates in English actually don't really, so we get a full flavor. Dedication. Without dedication, I won't tell exactly how old I am, but you can just say I'm a bit over 50. But it took me 20 years as a councillor. I'm now here at the Greater London Authority. Just yesterday, I'm really delighted that, not just last week, two sisters of mine, when I say sisters, not blood sisters, but political sisters of African origin, have now been selected as parliamentary candidates. Wow. Florence Shalomi, who sits in the room next to me at City Hall, she's been selected as a Labour Party candidate for Vauxhall. And of course, she could get elected first, but it's a very big Labour majority. Never take it for granted. And I know Flo would not like me saying, she'll be very upset if I say she'll be the next MP. But the chances are very good. But obviously, there's a lot of hard work for her to do. And just found out last night, I haven't spoken to her. Another dear friend of mine who used to work for the GLA Labour group, Abina Opagasare, has been selected as a Labour candidate for Erith and Thamesmead. Yes. Now, Erith and Thamesmead many years ago was a problem area in terms of racist attacks, so on. Abina grown up there, but again she persisted. A Florence persisted. Florence had been trying to get a parliamentary seat, and things weren't, given to her on a plate. She organized, she worked, and today we got, two prospective MPs. It's not about party politics. I mean, the Conservative Party of have got people, from BME background and so on. Well, good luck to them. I mean, I want people to get involved into politics affects us all. You don't have to be in party politics, big P and small p. So I think vision, aiming high, dedication, commitment, and self-belief. If you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? I know it's telling obvious, but it is so true. I keep on reminding myself sometimes, I think, and I'm human as well. I've been in politics for 40 years in this country, been a human rights lawyer and so on, seen ups and downs. I had the fortune to meet many good people, including some friends very near me, but we all help one another. But it's about, encouraging her. Let me say this, I don't want to embarrass Victoria. Victoria, when she first went for the council, didn't get it. Right? Well, 2 or 3 times. And the third time, I won't go into circumstances. But she stood again. And the early hours of the morning when an election result was announced, it was 4 o'clock in the morning at the Excel Center. There was only a handful of us left. Most other people had already been elected and had gone home. Hers was the last come. Her 2 colleagues for the Labour Party got elected, and she was good. She hadn't been elected. So we said it can't be true, right? And of course, we tried rubbing our eyes 4 o'clock in the morning, because all the ballot papers for all 3 candidates looked the same. And sure enough, there's a lot of that, Victoria's self-belief, her strength, her faith kept her going. And she said, look, investigation. And by mistake, 500 of her votes had been transferred to the Liberal candidate by mistake. Right? And to be honest, the Liberal guy came up and said, look, I think the mistake has been made. We are not that popular. Right? And sure enough, the result was rectified and she was declared. And I won't say the emotional scenes because we were all so pleased that finally Victoria got there. Not only did she get there, then she was elected as Speaker. Wow. So then she is Victoria. And you see how things can change. I've had rejections, Victoria's had rejections, but eventually through hard work, persistence, her faith, kept her going. So persevering, self-belief, networking, of course, is important. I mean, one of the reasons I'm bringing my life skills here, but they're transferable, elsewhere. But it's about, and that's what I'm here for, to give my platform to you to see how I can help facilitate networking, because obviously my job definition is as wide as I want to make it to be. It's about working with partners, statutory agencies, community groups. My main job is to be as a mayor, but also act as an ambassador, advocate for East London, to promote East London nationally and abroad, and vice versa, to run campaigns against hate crime, the far right, the growth of nationalism, and so on. So it's basically 24/7, and so it's about that the networking is so important, and certainly this is where we come in. Civic partnership talked about that. To have goals, short-term, medium-term, long-term. I wish someone had told me all this about 30, 40 years ago, because I never often just saw things at the end of the room, or then it's what beyond that, what's beyond the mountains on the other side. So I'm just passing on my life experiences to you. Forgive me, you may already have thought of this yourselves, but there's no harm in being reminded. I'm still learning after all these years. Self-development, you are your own teacher, learning from life experiences. I think so those are some of the issues, lessons. So I hope I've given you a flavor of what the GLA does, what my job is. I'm based at City Hall, your community organization. There's some friends here, Councillor Susan from Hackney, and so on. So we work together, but our doors are open. So yes. Thank you for having me. Very short
Okay, now he's giving you the details and breakdown. For myself, it's been a long, long time. It's not easy, and that is why what my sister here said, don't give up. That is my motto. And I keep telling everybody, if something is not going right, you start something. That's my own motto. You must start something. Don't allow it, because in my own time, when my kids were growing up, we were looking for football coaches and everything else, because we want them to be in a narrow path that will lead them to wherever they want to be. So I've got two boys then, and in my area, nothing is happening. I started a football club. Everybody was saying, how are you going to be doing that? I said, I have people around me. I have the coach. I know few people around me. I said, come on, let's start something. Let's start football club for these boys. And that's how Ocean Football Club started, because my area is called Ocean, the estate I was in. The estate that by then it was dilapidated, and we're able to get some funding to regenerate the area. I was elected as the board director to see that that project is going on well. It was about 20 years project or so, or 10 years initially. So I was elected twice to do that. And from there, I had that passion, of trying to get into being a councillor. So that I was helping to go around campaigning, doing all sorts of things, still doing some projects. So that project, see that is going on well. Then I started a Saturday school, because we see that in those days, Tower Hamlets wasn't going up in education attainment. So, and the local authority then looking for people to start something, how we're going to help our young ones to improve in the education attainment. And we were so lucky that Tower Hamlets now is at the top. Because that is why, when community comes together, when you see there's a problem, community comes together with a voluntary group, and then anybody can start a voluntary group. You can start something, and the local authority will be there to support you. They have voluntary sectors, organizations that will help you, that will, kind of holding your hand step by step to help you to help yourselves. That is why we have local authorities. That is what they are there for. And if they are not doing it, you can challenge them. When you live in a borough and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you can challenge them. You can write to the executive, you can write to the councillors. If they're not doing it, you pull them and then tell them that what is going on is not right. So something has to be done. And that is how I come in. So they know that I'm a very outspoken person. So, and I don't fear anybody. It's only God. I'll tell you how it is. And this is what needs to be done. Okay, so when I tried to get in as a councillor in my area, it's very tough. But thank God that I have good friends there. They are very, very good. You have bad people in every nation. So you just need to know how to talk to everybody. You need to know how to work with people. And I have that skill. I have that zeal. When you have patience and you are resilient, don't give up. Because that thing that you're looking for, you will surely reach there. When you are truthful to yourself. And then you're good to people. Don't reward evil with evil. It does not pay. So that is how I started. And coming to young people and women, that is what I'm passionate about. Because when it comes to young people are our leaders of tomorrow. And if we nurture them very well, you will get a good result. We have knife crime. That is why we need to go back to basics and see what we can do. And parents as well. Parents need to really be involved in the life of their children. We know we have to work. But, it's not all the time work, work, work. We have to create time for family. We have to create time for our children. We need to know who our children going out with. We need to know what they are doing. When your child is coming home with somebody else's things, you need to find out and tell that child that this is not right. You follow that child to where he got it from. Okay? So I do tell my kids like that. So they know. I said, I will expose you. And I will disgrace you. And they don't like that. So I said, if I see your friend and I see that they're not acting well, I will ask them, where is your parents? What is going on? Where do you come from? I need to talk to your parents. And they don't like that. So they start behaving themselves. Because you're doing it for their own good.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So
we're doing it for the kids' good. Because tomorrow we don't want to be having problems. You want to sleep and wake up, by the grace of God, and you know that your child is okay. But if you let them run wild, the government will blame you.
Yes.
So all this blaming government is not doing enough. I don't think it's government not doing enough. We have to get involved and help the government and help the school. When a child is doing something in school, do not cover that child. Or you take your child to school and you're telling the school off in presence of your kids. It is very, very wrong. Find a way of doing it privately. And then talk to your child that what is leading to this. You need to bring yourself down. Humble yourself. But when you have babies having babies, and there is no skill given to them, what are we expecting? So that is why we need parental skills for those that need the support. And don't be shy to say that you need the support. You must not be shy to say that you need help. Help is there. It's available for you through the local authority, through the government. There is help. But when you keep quiet, that is where the problem is. You get your GP, you talk to your doctors, you talk to the nurses. They are there to listen. If they don't want to listen, you make them listen. You keep knocking until that door is open. That is why I call resilient. You have to be resilient and you don't give up until you see that what you want is done. If somebody is frustrated about something, try and see how you can talk to the person. Try and make a way. Look at different ways of talking. You don't need to shout. There's no problem. If that person will not help you, look somewhere else. There are so many ways to get to everywhere. It's like in London. There are so many ways to come into London. Yes. So the same thing. So that is why I'm saying, parents should please look into the affair of our children and work with the schools. The schools are there to be your friends. No matter or however we feel about it, you need to work with the schools. During my own time, I have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. And when they go to school, I will tell the teacher, if my child done anything wrong, do not hesitate to call me. And when I go to this, in front of the teacher, I will tell my child off. And I will tell my child, you do not behave such and such way, because you have me to deal with when you come home. I'll double your house chores. And I will not give you money that you want me, especially when it's Christmas time, because they know Christmas is coming. I will say, bang goes your Christmas present. You know? Even if it's something you've done in January or March. I said, Christmas time, don't think about you getting anything from me. And if I spend my money to give you a phone, I will collect that phone back. You know? They know it. So I'll collect it back. So that is the tip I'm telling parents. When you know what your child likes and you have it, take that thing away from them. That's right. And tell them that when you start behaving, you have it back. If I have, you have to write a contract, you sign something for me.
You see the saying you always say,
you know?
I always write.
You said, I will not do this. So by so time, when I see how your behavior is, you get it back.
You see?
And if you don't, I'll keep it. And I'll give it to somebody else. I said back home in Africa, they need things like that. So if you are not behaving yourself, I'll send it home. You know? Even trainers. Even sometimes they buy their things. Now they're grown up. They buy their things. I will take it from them. He said, but I bought it myself. I said, so? That's right. You know? So things like that. We really need to work with our kids. And now they laugh over it. They laugh over it. Said, oh God, I remember. You know? You know, when mom buys something for you, if you mess up, she will take it back. So when they know that you don't mess up, or especially when your birthday is coming, you know your birthday is coming, you expect me to buy you a present, and then you are not respectful, I get a report, and then you are not behaving yourself in the school. No. You're not getting anything from me. You see, bang goes your birthday present. That's my phrase. You see? Bang goes your present. Bang goes this. I say, yes. So when you behave yourself, and then you have a meeting, call your children, you know, once a month or something like that. We do prayers together, because that's my faith. Wherever they are, even when they're in America or technology, yes, you know, we put phone so we can pray together. So things like that, and you put the fear of God in their life, you instill the fear of God in their life, knowing that when you're doing things like this, know what the consequences is. Remember the child of whom you are. So we need to help those that need our help. We're having the cause of mental issues among our youth, among our young people, because of depression. Because they think nobody is there for them, but we are here for them. They just need to ask for that help and support. We need to encourage them. We need to motivate them for them to know that there is help, there is support. So when we are doing that, passing all these things through and showing them that don't be shy. There's nothing on this earth that's never happened before. So if you think, if you have been bullied or something like that, you think if you tell your mom it's going to be the worst, no, there is a way parents need to look into that. You talk with your child and then go and see the school. You talk with the school privately. And then there's a way they're going to handle it. They will handle it in such a way that will help your child, will help you as a parent. And don't feel too shy, parents, to ask for help and support. There are so many things, there are so many organizations that you can go to that is there that can help you. As we're talking about knife crime, there are so many support. We need to go back to basics. That is what I'm saying. And we need to work with the police and ask our children, they can be open up and talk. You're not snitching anybody. When a friend is carrying a knife, you know a friend is carrying a knife, you know it is wrong. You need to talk to somebody about it.
That's right.
Because carrying a knife, you might think you're trying to protect yourself. You end up, somebody else will use it against you. The weapon that you are carrying,
Yes.
it is wrong. And I think the legal people too need to do something about it. It's not when you see somebody is carrying a knife, you just slap them on the wrist and say, oh, good, because that is what they think they're getting away with. So it's about time we get tough on anybody carrying a knife. We send a message that is not nice, and our children should stop killing themselves over many things, over saying you're stupid or you're this, and then somebody will just take a knife and say, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
The life is ruined. The person that died is ruined. The one that is alive is ruined because he's going to go to prison. So, what is the point? So we need to have this message passed on to our youth. We need to tell them it's not about, knife. What about physical fighting that you used to do? When somebody do something, you can fight, without using a knife. So what is all this about? So we really need to go into back to basics and ask God to help us to look after our young ones. And women, don't give up. Okay? I never gave up. That's why. Recently, I was put on a list of the 50 influential women in the UK. So I thank those that done that. So it's wonderful. So women, we have a lot to do. We have a lot of work to do. So don't give up, please. And God will help us to achieve what God put us on earth to do. Thank you very much.
And hold on. When I think of a counselor and mayor who has inspired me, even in politics, despite that we're in different political parties. But I tell you what, I am so much inspired by how resilient she has been. When she didn't get elected, she went in, she carried on volunteering and carried on. And you have to look at great examples in the community. I'm inspired. Anytime I am around you, I feel, to me, you have been a star. People ask me, who are your role models? May I announce she's one of my role models. And I am absolutely honored. Anytime I'm around her, she inspires me. Every time, somebody who adds value in your life, those are the people I want us to be walking around with. Today we are talking about entrepreneurship and life skills for Youth and Women Conference 2030-2063. And when I asked her, are you happy to grace her? As busy as she is, she has managed to come and support us with all the Brexit matters and God knows what. And I suggested, please, even if it is just to come and give us a word, we love you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you're doing in the borough of Tower Hamlets.
Thank you.
We appreciate that work that you're doing, and we will keep going. And if you haven't joined politics, regardless of what political party you've heard it from Umesh and how we can get involved, even with the GLA, please do get in touch. We are on about 2030, 2063, finding your pathway through the GLA, through the council, and today you've had it. Thank you, young people, and of course,
Thank you.
And yes, just before our next councillor comes in, we've got Councillor Susan here, Jumoke, who will carry on with a topic that has just been started And Councillor Susan has really inspired me a lot. But just before she goes on stage, I've got a youth who is going to perform. Joel, who is 15 years old, will perform again his song. Are you ready, Joel? Yeah. Okay. So give a round of applause again to Joel. You had him earlier on. And then Councillor Susan is going to come in on stage to help us. And thank you so much for a beautiful voice, Susan. We love you again. He's going to be performing Human, and then Councillor Susan is going to join us on stage.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this, see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm blind. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived in what you believe? 'Cause I'm only human after all. You're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Oh, some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. Well, Lord heavens above, I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Don't ask my opinion, don't ask me to lie. Then beg for forgiveness for making you cry. For making you cry. 'Cause I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Whoa, some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. And some people think I can solve them. Well, Lord heavens above, I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. I'm only human, I make mistakes. I'm only human, that's all it takes to put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. 'Cause I'm no prophet or Messiah. You should go looking somewhere higher. 'Cause I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. I'm only human, I do what I can. I'm just a man, I do what I can. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me.
much, young man. And absolutely honored to have you in the house. And Mama Susan Kumba, we love your son, and we really, really are grateful to bringing him. And she's got some jewelries over at the back there. Let's support the family. So I really love the song. And one more performance later on. So prepare. Thank you so much. Give a round of applause again. Joel is only 15 years old, and we've got the teenagers. I call them teenagers. We've got the youths. You've heard from the youth. Agnes Pratt is a youth earlier on, and of course you've heard from Tanzila as well, who is also a youth. Earlier on you heard from them, and we really love to inspire them. I remind everyone today is about entrepreneurship and life skills for the Youth Women Conference 2030 to 2063. Finding your passion. And I've just got also, can I appreciate the Minister of Yemen in this house? Give a round of applause for him joining us. And he's here with us this evening, and we'll get to know the countries of Yemen, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia. All these are African countries. We want to work together. We want to be inspired. We want to look at the future of 2030, the future of our youth, and that is why I'm bringing these guest speakers. Welcoming you on stage now is a dear friend, if I may say so, a wonderful, not just, a wonderful, powerful, experienced politician. Yeah? She started her career in politics many, many years ago. And who's heard of the MP Diana Abbott? Hello, everybody. Have you heard of Diana Abbott?
Yeah.
Thank you. She's the first female black MP and has served for many, many years in Hackney. And the Councillor Susan holds won her ticket in Stoke Newington. So I've known her for many years, and despite us being in different political parties, we inspire people, our youth, our whole community. I love her to bits because she adds value into my life. I always speak about the community. She stands with me. And in fact, even like today, when I said, she will say to me, Juliet, I don't know if I'll make it, but trust me, I am faithful in my heart that I know anytime she walks in there, she blesses all our community. Are we together? Yes. Through her, the community works together through councillors. Our community, if they don't see a councillor, they don't want to attend. When I say that, if I say, can I have your picture? She will send it to me. Yeah? So she's also the SF, she's got a foundation, and I'll let her tell you in the stage what her foundation does. Her foundation is mainly mentoring as well. But just to welcome her, could we have a song for her, please? Thank you so much. As she walks into the stage. And she knows how to dance. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me look for an oldie for this whole day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That's more like it. I know we're not many in the room, but we need to be here. We are here and we need to get involved and participate. Can I just say thank you for your kind words, Juliet? It is a shame that I'm not going to be here for a long time. Julia, many people know me as a politician, but actually I started my active life in the UK 30 years ago on mentoring. So what I've done more than any other thing has been mentoring young people. And the reason I'm not going to be here for that long is 4 years ago, there is a pageant that started called Miss Pride of Africa. People might have heard from me. Miss Pride of Africa is tonight, and the founder of Miss Pride of Africa is one of my mentors, or one of my mentees. So every year I deliver, in the last 4 years, I deliver the keynote address at the pageant. So I'm going to rush out of here to go to Dayton to go and do that bit tonight. So that's why I'm not going to be here. I'm not just running away, just to make that clear. Thank you, Juliet, for bringing me on here. Passionate, okay. Passionate about what I'm doing, in particular in making contribution to the community. My journey started many, many years ago when I was a little girl. My father was a philanthropist in Nigeria, and one thing my dad always says was back then that your life, your success is never completed until you make a difference to other people's lives. And that was how I was raised. So from a little girl, from a young age, I just have to do something for other people. So that was how my activism started in this country. So it was because I was very active in my local area, and I was a member of the Labour Party. That was why people in the Labour Party invited me, was it 16 years ago now, 2005, to stand the election in 2006. So I was nominated to stand election back in 2006 in Hackney, and that was because of what I was doing in the community at the time. So, but many people know me as a politician, but actually it's the other way around. It was my social activism that led me to become a political activist. Enough of that. It's good that we're here today. When Julia said to me that this conference today, we are talking about a vision 2030 to 2063. I'm in my 50s. So at that time, so the people that we need to be, audience of tonight meant to be our young people. And I said to her that we actually need something that will resonate with the young people. But unfortunately, we don't have many young people in the room, but the few we've got in the room, I hope one or two things that I will say today will benefit or them. And where I'm going later on today, they said to talk about empowerment. And I said the word empowerment, people always throw it all around. Empowerment is about giving you the opportunity to actually do something. But in the long run, nobody actually empowers you. You empower yourself. That is the best thing you can do. You empower yourself by working for it. As the Lord has said, one of my very favorite quotes, he said, I don't dream of success, I work for it. That's it. That's very important. When you are dreaming about success, you don't get it. But when you go out there and work for your success, then you get it. And that is one thing that I want our young people to take away today. As part of I'm not going to talk, both my colleagues have spoken about politics, I mentioned them, but I'm going to talk about something that I started to do in the last 2 years. Thank you for Professor Imafidon for being in the room. He's a celebrated man, and thank you, and very humbling. He's somebody that the Queen called upon. He's somebody that the Queen called upon. People call upon from Oxford, from Cambridge for advice. But when it comes to the community, he will humble himself and sit among us. So I appreciate you. I celebrate you, Professor. So about 2 years ago, we know what is happening in London, the increase in youth crime. And in our community, many people, in a space of 6 months, I was invited to like 5 different events to come and talk about knife crime. And when I spoke at the last one and I said to myself, I'm not going to talk about knife crime, come to a summit to come and talk about knife crime anymore. I want to do something about this. And I went home that night and I said, we've had a lot of things, but one of the things somebody said at that conference that day is because of why the increase in knife crime. We all know that it disproportionately affects people from black and ethnic minority. And why is that? A lot of different reasons have been given about it, but importantly, there was a breakdown in our family unit. They said there is a breakdown of our children, of the family setup. Then I went, I said, what can I do? Then I remember this concept in Africa, in particular in Nigeria, where I came from, that it takes a village to raise a child. Then I said, how can we get the community involved in terms of intervention in our young people? So I went away, had discussion with many people, and we said, let's start a different type of mentoring from the mentoring that I'm doing. The mentoring that I'm doing is mainly about empowering and supporting young people to achieve in the sense that we want them to become lawyers, to become we want them to become lawyer, to become engineer and all of that. But we are neglecting, you mentioned it, their well-being, their emotional support and all of that. And we said, okay, this mentoring I would like to start, I want a different thing to it. Let's make it a mentoring that will support young people. It's about their well-being, it's about their aspirations, and that was how we went and we started IXL mentoring. Like I said, Prof was one of the speakers at the launch of IXL mentoring. It was Black History Month exactly 2 years ago. We launched IXL mentoring on the 22nd of March 2017 in Parliament. And since then, we've gone into the community, we've recruited people, professionals, parents, who were able to support other young people and be a role model to them. And it's not about, like I said, it's not about supporting them to in terms of their career. It is holistic support, their well-being. Those mentors, their father figures, their mother figures, their auntie, their friends, that those young people can call upon and curate that space where they're able to talk. People said, oh, some people don't have the support at home, but those young people we're supporting are able to they're able to have that and know there's somebody at the end of the phone if they want to speak to someone. It is rewarding, and people in this room today, if anyone is willing to volunteer as a mentor on that program, please do let us know. Let Juliet know. Juliet will pass details. And if you know of a young people that will benefit from having an auntie figure, a mother figure, a dad figure, a friend to talk to, please do refer them or let Juliet know. We're going to get in touch with them. But basically, before I leave, I just want to share something with you in terms of a few things we can notice, we can take away if you're a mother or a father, a friend to somebody, sorry. I think I've lost it. Anyway, I'll just say a few of them on top of my head. I know the time is even. And what I wanted to say, it is important. I hate using the word gang. I don't use it, but there are some youth that have youth friendship, that some youth might get involved in friendship that is not good for them. And when that happens, it might affect them. When that happens, it might cause them to do what they would not ordinarily do. So if you are spending time with a young person, if you're a mother or a dad, there are certain signs when you spot them in your young person. Please do try and talk to them or get somebody to speak to them. One of them is when a child suddenly, in particular when they're teenager have different ways of behaviors, but when a teenager become very withdrawn, find out what is happening. When a teenager left all his old friends behind and now have new friends, find out what is happening. When a teenager comes home with different slangs all the time, find out what is happening. When the teenagers have their trainers, their school bags with various graffiti, with various name tags, find out what is happening about that. When a teenager decided not to go absenteeism in schools, find out what is happening to them. When a teenager starts or performing legs in school, find out what is happening to them. When a teenager starts bringing things that doesn't belong to them home and say it's for my friend, find out what is happening to them. When your teenagers start wearing their jacket all of the time, even indoors, find out what is happening to them. Many of these things might sound like stereotyping, but those are some of the signs that you can pick as a child, as an adult, around a young person that might be influenced with by other people they mixing with in school, playground, on their street. So all these are very important, and please do take them away. Yes, we are looking to Vision 2030 to 2063. We want a healthy population of our young people. Just last night, between 6 and 8 p.m. last night, 3 people were stabbed on the street of London, one in Bromley, one in Barking, and one in Shepherd's Bush. It is becoming, we need to do something about it. And we cannot do, it's a complex issue, but we can all do a little thing to make our community better. We can all do a little thing to make our young people be better person, to make our young people listen with us, and let us all stand up and say no to knife crime and say no to violence crime within the young people. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Councillor Susan. Isn't that, you cannot tell me you didn't go home without any skills for the youth and women. And this conference brings into you the Vision 2030. Can you imagine in London people getting scared with such issues that we are being told? And once again, I will just quickly read Councillor Susan's Fajana, who was born as a British Nigerian politician and social political campaigner and a community communication consultant. She's an elected member of Hackney Council and a former civics mayor of Hackney, uniquely known as the speaker. At the time, she was a speaker in 2017?
Long time.
Former. 2010, she was the former mayor of Hackney. Can you clap for that? You know, and she's also a Labour Party activist for over 20 years. She has spoken about that, and she's a mentor, and she's also got this SFG that she's briefly told you about, and supported other Africans to becoming political activists and councillors. Earlier on, you heard about the role of councillors previously. She's the first ethnic minority person and woman to become the chair of Hackney North and Stoke Newington Constituency Labour Party. And I love that about our women in Africa. Susan moved to Northeast London about 25 years ago. She's originally from Nigeria, following a successful career as a presenter, producer with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. And since then, she has acquired many additional various skills in various fields, including research, public relations, community development, and politics. A woman of passionate about, her main passion is mainly housing, welfare of children, women's rights, community engagement and participation. She's also an advocate for social justice, and I can tell you that I have been with her round. We fight for this was stand against racism. I can confirm that to you. And she's dedicated to contributing and having a positive impact to the people of Hackney. I want to appreciate you for bringing the love that you've got and sharing that with us here in Islington as well. She's also a member of the BME community here in UK, and she works and she supports many of us to put our structures right. And she has been mentoring newly arrived refugees in the UK following the Balkan conflict. So she's working with other different communities. Her passion as well is welcoming and supporting asylum seekers and refugees, especially in mental health, and to also both cope psychologically and physically cope with the changes that are happening here. Susan has served in various public offices with pride, and she's currently serving as a board of 7 organizations, including London Housing Consortium, East London, NHS Foundation Trust, Dwelling Society, Finsbury Park Trust, and Islington Refugee Forum. And she's very passionate and works as a community with various organizations. She's currently working on a research project to identify barriers to why Black and ethnic communities are not accessing mental health services at primary stages of mental health. So you could, not today because she's in a rush, but if you've got any questions, you could always write in to me and I will always pass them to her as well. She's into local governance and matters relating to policing. She brings all that up. And the list goes on and on. And she is the SFT Foundation, which she's told you about, which is a charitable organization. May I ask you to really, really appreciate her, and as today is election time, we've managed to get them. You know, for you here, I hope you have learned something. Just to let you know that I've got the former governor. What did you run? Governorship candidate of Akwabo, yes, which is from Nigeria. So we appreciate you in the house. We will be hearing a small talk about how that ran. So we thank you. At the moment, I'm going to say thank you so much for your patience as well. We've just got another 3 key speakers, and then we've got coaching from the professor himself. So we are going to be delighted. Then after that, for those who want to stay behind, we've got party night. So we will be here. The minister has agreed to stay with us until some stage. So I'll bring him later for those who want to hear him speak. So at this stage, may I welcome Professor Chris. I've never been able to, Professor Chris. Give him a round of applause. Come in and I will read his bio later as they sort out the platform for us. You can imagine for us to have Professor Chris in the house. You know, I begged him. I said, Daddy, you have to be here for me as well, because I see all the good work that goes out. And the last time I was in Harry Sardine function, he was teaching us about how to acquire wealth and how he has managed to do all the things. And he was also teaching us how to use Twitter effectively. In fact, he challenged me to go onto Twitter more often. So on stage here today, with the love of his son as well. His son is here. And if anybody doesn't know that his daughter is the genius. You know, genius. Mathematician genius. Could we give a round of applause to the daughter as well? I have to tell everybody, you know, when you see geniuses, you know they come from Africa as well. And I want him to tell us the secrets to all these, you know, every time I see him, he's with the Queen, he's everywhere. So we're delighted to have him in the house. And as he prepares to have us on stage over here, thank you so much for agreeing to be with us.
Thank you very much.
Give us a song, just a quick one. A song. Let him dance for us as well. We never seen him dance.
Thank you very much. It's a huge honor to be asked to share on the very exciting topic of what the future has, of what the future holds. Can I just put a disclaimer? Because she says, my children are geniuses. The real truth is that every human being that is born on planet Earth, I'm not saying the smart ones, every single human being at the age of 7 can pass their GCSEs.
Wow.
The only trouble is that we follow a school system. It's like following the bus system. So the time it took you to get here today is a function of the system you took. If you came by train, you would have moved faster. If you came by tube, even faster than train. Because today, you know, some trees fell. If you drove, you'd be a lot slower because you're going to hit a lot of traffic lights. So the function of your coming here is something that is
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to, he's finishing his shift. So just Councillor, I want to introduce Civilian and the staff member to say thank you so much because he's finishing his shift and we've had a beautiful service. Give a round of applause to the staff because he's come to tell me that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you so much for your love and a warm welcome to us. Thank you. Thank you.
So you see, every single person here was born a genius. Because every seed that you have has the potential to be a tree. But if that seed is left on the desk here, that seed will never be a tree. But if that seed is taken and put in a garden and watered and nurtured, that same seed becomes a tree. The nurturing of the talent that is deposited in all of us determines what we eventually become. So if you have a cousin, and your cousin was born in China, in Beijing, do you know what happens after 5 years? Your cousin will speak Mandarin fluently. If that same cousin was born in Belgium, he will speak either French or Flemish. So the function of your environment is far more important than the seed itself. So when you say somebody is a genius, it's because that genius is realized, because we are all geniuses. Some of our genius is suppressed by the environment. Michael Jordan was told by his high school, you are not good at playing ball. And they cut him out of the high school. So he didn't play for his school. But remember, Michael Jordan eventually became the best in his state, the best in the nation, and the best in the world for a long time. So the seed is there, and some of you don't know this, but it's true, that there's somebody called Sir Mo Farah. Mo Farah is an identical twin, that he has an identical twin brother. His twin brother was raised, because of the circumstances, they were separated when they were about 5 years old. So his twin brother was raised in a different environment from him. So you know Sir Mo Farah. You know him as Sir Mo Farah. I knew him as Mo Farah as a student in London that was humiliated by everybody, but found passion in athletics. And today he's a double world champion, double Olympic champion, and he's an icon to the whole world. Now the question I'm asking you, if gene is the determinant of genius, why is his identical brother at least not being an African champion or a state champion? No, the brother is no champion in anything. In fact, somebody joked and said, if a lion pursues the brother, the lion will catch the brother. So he can't run to save his life.
But look at they're identical. What I'm saying, when you see Mo Farah's identical twin brother, he can use Mo Farah's passport to go through immigration. That's how closely they look. So because our system failed to pick up the genius in his brother, we now say that he's a genius and his brother is not. So you can see why I'm always passionate when people say that because my biological children were successful, that they belong to a special class of humans and others are just normal. No, it's not a genetic disorder. It's a manifestation of that which is in you. Today's topic, it says, I'm so excited about it. Do you know why? It's about the future. And if you haven't seen the future, come with me, I'll show you the future. Because when I see what 6-year-old and 7-year-old today are doing with mobile phones, of course I've seen the future. The power of the mobile phone you have now, the MOD could not get it when Mrs. Thatcher was Prime Minister. The power of technology alone has redefined the landscapes. And all of us are excited. I've got news for you. Do you know what? In another 10 years, go and write this down, please. The mobile phone you are going to be using is going to dwarf that of GCHQ, dwarf that of MOD, because we are now going into the area of what is called quantum computing. Quantum computing means that, you know, your computing power now that you have on your mobile phone and on your desktop can compute, that means can add things up. Now, quantum computing will do it at about 5,000 times faster than the best phone, than the best desktop now. So the power of a network of computer is going to be what you're going to be carrying in your pocket. So every human being can send a man to the moon. That's essentially what I'm telling you. That's why I'm excited about the future. And most of us that are 30 or higher, please, I'm not talking to you. You're just eavesdropping this conversation. I want to talk to people that are 30 or younger, that do not have any fears or inhibitions about using tools, that have not attended one computer science class, but they will take your phone. When they finish with your phone, you know, you can wonder, was it my phone or their phone? And they only had it for 5 minutes. Some of you have been victims of this. When you see a little cousin, a niece or a nephew, just lends the opportunity, just lend him your phone, and by the time he's through with it, you will wonder, is this here? Because one single app can teach you 15 different languages. That's why I'm excited about the future. So the problems we have now is a function of the technology we're using. The debate about Brexit is an obsolete debate when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to enrich yourself and expand your coast, one way or the other. And I hope I'll have time to be able to go through that. So, one thing we have ignored is education. Some of us have substituted education for certification. That means if you go to a university, you go through some forms of courses, and at the end, they'll give you a piece of paper. Some of us think that is education. Of course, that's not education. That is just certification, because you were compliant. That means you followed a set of instructions, and at the end of it, you were given a piece of paper. And at the end of it, they give you one academic gown, and you dress in the robe, and you're very happy. That is not education. Education is identifying what talent you have, developing that talent, and then deploying it. That's what education is. It's about human capital development. That's the reason why a lot of top schools in the country are top, not because they have better teachers, but because they have a wider range of activities and subjects. So you can take to rowing and really row and become an Olympic champion in rowing. What if your school did not have facilities to row? Then you say you're a failure. What if your school, you are great at playing music, and your school is not musical? Then you say you're a failure. No, because your talent was never detected. So if you don't detect the talent, and then develop that talent will be obsolete. If Bill Gates went to the normal school, he'll be a real dropout. But he went to a school where the parents invested in computer programming, that at the age of 13, he interacted with giving instructions to computers. So he's not a genius. He was a detected genius and a developed genius. And some of us here are suppressed geniuses. That means we heard that we are not good in French. We repeated that we are not good in French, and then we became bad at French. And then we are afraid of making mistakes with French. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? And you know, you internalize that and say, I'm not good at French. Others say, no, I'm not good with numbers. If you think you're not good in maths, it's because your last maths teacher told you you're not good at maths. It's not because you're not good at maths. Because also, you see, don't you know, I'm very bad at maths. I said, why? He said, because, you know, I was in school. I said, okay, why? He said, but I'm great at football. You cannot be great at football and be bad at math, because football is the game of mathematics. If you miscalculate, the ball is going to hit the ball and come back. So when you now tell me you're bad at math and you are great at football, you're just vocalizing the piece of paper somebody gave you. And that is none of your business. That person's piece of paper was signed by him. You know the certificate they gave you? It was signed by an individual. That's that individual's view about you. It has nothing to do with your views about yourself. Because if Michael Jordan believed the piece of paper they told him about ball, he'll be very quiet and subdued. And he will never touch ball. Because the teacher said he's bad at ball. Or the coach said he's bad at ball. If you move that to Serena Williams and the Venus sisters, and the Williams sisters, it's mind-boggling what they would have become if they stayed in California, if they didn't have a crazy father that carried them away from California and relocated to Florida, and today we see them as world champion in tennis. And we think that there's a gene called Williams that helps you play tennis. When really, it was a fact that that genius was detected and then developed. So that's the reason why I'm so excited when I talk about this. And when each time I have the opportunity of a live interview, because I don't like recording an interview. The BBC records your interview, I actually record your interview, and they cut off aspects that really brings the message home to you, because the BBC and the Broadcasting Institute have now become entertainment channel, when they really should be educational type channel. So if they don't want me to do a live program, I just tell any of my children, go talk to them, they like hearing your voice, that's better. Because I'm too old now to just entertain. If I cannot inject into the next generation what they can be and how they can change the ball game, have failed. Because if I've been able to do it for my biological children and I cannot do it for your children, it is not even selfishness, it's suicide. Because if you empower every single child, you empower the community. If you empower the community, then you will have what is called success. So, CNN did we were calculating how many GCSEs this one has, how many A-levels this one has. But any fool that is guided can walk away at the age of 14 with 17 GCSEs. So, are there enough in the school curriculum? I say yes. Let's take maths for example. Anybody that is good at, anybody that hates maths and loves music, I'll prove to you that your music is mathematical. Period. Because I know that. Anybody that hates, really say I hate maths, but is good at cooking, I'll prove to you that your cooking is mathematical. I know that. Because if you don't add the ingredient at a specific time with a specific weight, you will not get the same soup. So don't tell me that I'm bad at maths, but I'm great at cooking. Cooking is advanced chemistry, mediated by heat. So don't try and misinform me about your own ignorance. Don't spread it anywhere near where I am, because I know you are better than what somebody told you you can do. So I try and, as much as possible, let you know this, and with maths, if you solve a problem and you give it to your teacher, he gives you marks. Right? We call that maths. But if you solve a problem and you give it to your brother likes you and tells others about you, that's entrepreneurship. Because others will then come and meet you and say, you know the problem is solved for your brother, can you solve it for me? And then you can now start charging for that, because you have created a solution to an existing problem. And you don't even need to create a brand new solution, because you can look at an existing solution, like this pen, and say, this is a pen, people write with it. And sometimes they want to write blue with it. So I now make a pen with two different inks, and I can press this, the blue will come out, and press this, the red will come out. And That is what is called innovation, because I have just changed one pen to act as if there are two pens. Did you understand? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So anyone that has ever solved a problem on this planet Earth is an entrepreneur. Some of us solve our problems, and because we don't have the confidence, we do it for our employers, and our employers are the entrepreneurs. So you know how to fly a plane, and you talk to Richard Branson, and he employs you as a pilot, and then you say you're a pilot, and you are solving a problem for passengers. Is that true? So if you love solving problems, you are an entrepreneur. You only solve problem because there's a reward that comes from it. So if you address anybody's problem, and you say, no, we have a political problem. So what's the political problem? Say, we're not sure we'll win. I look at it and say, but that's a mathematical question. It's a game of numbers. How many people will vote for me, and how many people will vote for my opponent? Those are two questions. And then people start doing what is called opinion polls. And they do opinion polls and say, where are the seats that I'm likely going to win? And then remember, say, no, this seat is a swing state. Let's see whether we can put or they say, oh, no, this is a constituency that we're not sure of. Let's put in energy. Can you see why I say that if you hate maths, it's because someone else told you that you're not good at maths. So what we've done, I've worked with other children in inner city schools. I'm failing school. I'm pleased that the counselor for Tower Hamlet was here. We went to Whitechapel and worked with children that are bilingual and rejected by certain schools. And these are children that are rejected. I'm not telling you the bright ones. That's why I keep saying I start with the lowest performing student. And after 9 months, on Commercial Road, I can give you the number. We now have a Saturday event every Saturday at Mulberry Girls School along Commercial Road, opposite McDonald's. And last year, we got 9, 10, and 11-year-olds to write advanced level mathematics. And they are not biologically linked. They don't have any relationship. They just have a clearer understanding of what math is and what they can do with themselves. And then we now have people that are learning 5 languages at the same time. Do you know why? Language is the production of sound at a reading level. Language is not knowing to write and memorize bilingual dictionary. You know, that's what they tell us in school. The first class you come to, they give you a dictionary and you start struggling to learn it. That's the craziest thing anybody can do to another person. Do you know how you learn a language? My daughter, my eldest daughter, before she left primary school, she spoke 6 different languages and wrote 6 different languages. Do you know why? It's not because she's a genius, because she heard, because that's how you learn a language. You hear and then you repeat. Who can remember how you learned your very first language? Did they give you a dictionary? As a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old? You heard the sound, you repeated it, you heard the sound and you repeated it. And there are some sounds that are in Yoruba that are also in Mandarin. And they are not in English. So if you learn Yoruba, when it comes to speaking Cantonese, you just repeat those sounds. So you just bring them out. How many of us here can speak Latin or understand some Latin?
Me.
1, 2, 3. I'd like to give you prizes. 1, 2, 3 that put on behind. The rest of you, I need to put you on a lie detector machine. Because if I ask you what time did this program start, you say 9 a.m. What is a.m.? It's Latin. If I ask you, oh, what clinic are you going to? You say, I'm going to antenatal clinic. What is antenatal? It's Latin. Ante is before, natal is newborn. I said, no, I'm going for postnatal. Did you understand what I'm saying? When I say, now we're having a conversation, what is to converse is Latin. If I ask you to spell your name now, you find out that 4 letters out of your name is of original Latin origin. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? So if you understand that Latin is the basis of most of what you're saying in English, it's therefore not difficult for you to speak French. Because French and English share a common Latin root. It's therefore not difficult for you to speak German. Because German and English share Latin root words. So Brexit just becomes bread and butter. Because you can then just go straight and create an email account, which is your name, dot your surname at yahoo.de. If it's yahoo.de, it gives you a direct link to everything that has to do with German. Because German, in German it's called dot. So if it's French, yahoo.fr, your name, your surname, that's your French email address. And that goes for Arabic, that goes for any major language. So if you speak only one language, you severely disabled yourself because you've limited your market, because you've limited your audience. It's folly for you to say, I'm only able to speak English, because I know that's a lie. And some of you, because when you start writing lists, you say, I want to go on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and then ETC. ETC, etc. You put that in your writing before. ETC. And what is ETC? It's Latin. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you know some Latin. But we had some lies to say that we can't do it. And because we said we can't do it, we act as if we can't do it. And when you act anything, you eventually become it. So if you're not a fool, but they said you start acting like a fool, say, don't you act like a fool? Then you become foolish. You weren't foolish originally because you now have a mental block that stops you from speaking languages. So you can speak, I know the human being is programmed to speak at least 15 mutually exclusive languages. If I had time, I can prove that to you. I just started with sound now. They will look for intensive words that is common in French to the language you now speak. And we'll just work on that first. You know why? You start with the easy things first. So there are some French words that you use now and you spoke yesterday, but because you heard it first in an English context, you wrongly attribute it to English. Because that's why when Her Majesty goes to Quebec in Canada, she got up and she spoke in French. And it took a lot of people by surprise because they thought she is the queen, and the queen is the biggest defender of the English language. But she wanted to communicate with them and let them know that she's also the Queen of Quebec. And that endeared her to the entire people. I know Boris Johnson jokes a lot about his skills, but when Boris went to talk to Macron, he switched from English to French when he wanted to short-circuit who was interpreting for both of them. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? So because he's a classical scholar, so he knows how to pull things around. So you don't not walk away thinking that you can't do this. This is one big headache everybody's fighting about, and in the year 2030 we're going to be fighting this. Do you know why? Because they are the sustainable goals. Do you know why they are sustainable goals? There are things we think we cannot achieve, but we'll try. But do you know why we try? Because we've not heard this man. Nobody's taking him seriously. His name is Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was president of South Africa. His investment in education, vis-a-vis his investment in the military, almost sparked a coup. Because he believes that the biggest weapon that can change the whole world is education. That's why even when he was in jail, he was studying. You know when they kept him in jail? He read all he needed to read. When he came out of jail, he was still studying. Up to his deathbed, he was studying because he understood this fact that your education does not end on your graduation. Because all of us are fooled into thinking once you finish one course in the university, you can't learn any other thing else. That is the number one lie anybody tells you. So you don't understand this. I'm too old. I can't learn. Are you sure? Say yes. I said, how old are you now? You're 40. I said, okay. Do you know how old my mother is? I said, okay. Yeah. Do you know my mother, when she went to school, there was nothing called Facebook? Do you know how much my mother looks at Facebook now? Because it's the only tool she can use to connect with all her grandchildren. When they're having birthday, they upload photographs. She goes there to go and see it. So when there is necessity, you always learn the new skills. That's essentially what I'm saying. So if you do not believe that education ends in the classroom, you are great. If you believe that education is what you were taught in school, and whatever you were not taught, you can never know, then you need to wake up. Because the coming years, is not going to employ people that know things, but it's going to employ people that can know things. Let me say this slowly. The jobs that will be available in 2030, 80% of them have not been created now. Let me say this slowly. In 1960, there was no job called webmaster because there was no web. In 1970, there was no job called internet engineer because there was no internet, so you can't have an engineer for it. So the fruits that you are going to harvest in 2030 are the seed of knowledge that you plant now. So if you don't plant the seed of learning and understanding you're a learning machine, you were born right from the word go to learn. So as a baby, you started learning and adapting to your environment. When you became a toddler, you learned to walk, and you took the first step, and you stumbled and fall. And when you fell, you got up there, you take another step, you stumbled, then you picked up yourself by learning, not by your certification, because you didn't follow a body of knowledge. So if somebody told you you were bad at a language, I can take a bet on you today, that after 3 weeks, you know that language they said you are bad at, you can't learn it? I don't care whether it's Russian, or Hebrew, or Greek, or Arabic, a non-script language or a script language, it doesn't matter, you can pick it up by understanding that language is about sound production. So if you understand the Mandela thinking and what he believed in, and more importantly, what he lived, is one thing to believe something and talk about it, is another thing for you to walk the walk and then deliver the product. You will understand that you are getting ready for 2030. And you are the only set of people that will be available in 2030. That was an interview my eldest daughter did with Louis Hamilton. Now, every young man in the room needs to get this video. If you follow me on Facebook, I can share it with you. And Louis Hamilton will tell you, oh, because all of you believe, oh, he's a world champion, he's the fastest car driver, you put on the pedestal. What he said in that interview is consistent with what I'm sharing with you now. Following your passion. When you fall, the only thing you do is to get up. When you stumble, it's because you had an obstacle, you need to get up to pick up your miracle. I'm not interested in whether you believe or you don't believe. I don't think whether you're tall or short, it doesn't matter. Whatever nationality you are, it doesn't matter. If you don't make mistakes, you are not a member of the human race. Please, can you write that down? To err is human. And most of you don't do math because you will make mistakes. Let me tell you one thing. The phone you have now, the app was sent to you to say, download the new app. Have you ever had that on your phone?
Yes.
Because the old app is what? Outdated. Because they found an error in the machine that programmed that. Because there was a bug in that. That means somebody made a mistake when they wrote that program. And now that person was paid handsomely by Microsoft. That person has a PhD in maths and a PhD in computer science, but he still made a mistake. So if he made a mistake in his field after a PhD and after being paid, who are you afraid to make a mistake in the language learning, in your math calculation of the calculations? That is not a proof of anybody that is alive. If you don't want to make any mistake, I can follow you to the cemetery right now. Dead people don't make mistakes. If you are dead, you don't do anything, you don't attempt anything new, and therefore you don't have any mistake. So I'll share that with you if you're able to email me. So they talk a lot about big data. The data you are going to have in 2030 is your currency. If you hate computer science, or you don't want to use technology, I'm sorry, it's a bit late. Because everything we are doing now is technology. If I pick up your phone, you find that it's not your phone. It's a broadcasting device because you can click on 2 apps there, and whatever you are seeing here, your friends in Nicaragua will be seeing it, and your friend in California will be seeing it. And it's free. 15 years ago, you had to be CNN or BBC to be able to be seeing something in London and somebody else will see it. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? So understanding the use of technology will move the goalpost radically in your favor. Ignoring it is a big pity. So if you hate AI, I'm sorry, it came a bit too late. If you say you hate sports, again, I'm sorry, because everything you are doing in sports now is calculated up to the last second so that you can know what you've achieved and how you can move things forward. This is the London Marathon. 26 miles long. if I tell you how much computing power goes into this event alone, you will wonder whether it's a normal sporting event or is a technological event. This is the London Marathon. Because they not only capture the data of everyone working, they capture the data of how the flow of the crowd is going so that they can monitor the traffic and open up roads. That's just a mere marathon. That's people running on the street on a Sunday morning. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is why excitement is what greets my future. Because I know that the children that we have now are already called digital natives. You know what they call them digital natives? Because they speak the language of technology. Because they can go into your car and disable your alarm. Do you know how you do it? You just type it on Google. You used to have A to Z. Didn't we have A to Z about 15 years ago to find out how to get from point A to point B? But now, how many people have A to Z? I'll call the police on you. You're a dinosaur. You're not a member of the human race. Because you see, technology has made things in such a way that who is afraid of 2030? I'm not afraid of it. I'm too excited about the driverless cars that will come. I'm just too excited about how to use that as a toy. And some people are afraid of it because they've never seen it before. I'm excited to try it. And if there are mistakes, we refine it. Because there will be mistakes in the first version. There will be mistakes in the second version. There will always be mistakes in the third version because they were defined by human beings, not by the design. So here we have two brothers, age 7 and 9. Just pick this up from the Oxford Mail, please. Try and get it. It was in the August of 2008. Age 7 and 9, who became the youngest to get the highest GCSE marks for the year. Let me say this slowly. They are in primary school. They are not supposed to even understand the syllabus of secondary school. So how you can be in primary school and write the same exam as 16-year-olds and they score more marks than them baffles me. Except that I understand the fact that you're using a technological tool and the others are using grandfather tool. And if you use grandfather tool, I already know where you're going to get to. You're not going to move too fast. They did not read one single textbook before they wrote the exam. They only interacted with an app. And that was only on Saturdays. So they play some games on the computer and I monitor them everywhere I go to on my phone. I just look at the screen. And they didn't see it as learning maths. They saw it as playing games and me awarding them points. So that in the March of every year, they get enough points and they're invited to the Abbey, Westminster Abbey, and they will see the Queen. That was their only motivation. And they did that competition. So this is essentially what I'm saying. Do you know why? Whoever made the textbook did not make it for 2019. You know the textbook? The so-called recommended textbook? It was printed to be used before the invention of apps. Now that apps have come, Old Testament, just go and bury it somewhere. Because the library we need are electronic library. And they're not physical library or books. So now look at this. Who is here that doesn't like German? Has not spoken German before? If you hate German, you've not spoken German before, can you wave? This is a trick question. Because this is a tweet in German when Mercedes organized a Frankfurt conference a couple of weeks ago that I mentioned about my daughter, and that tweet went out. If I tell you how many retweets this is one tweet. And remember, Twitter is only one app of all major apps. If you can see this, because they love Lewis Hamilton, they ignore the non-English version of it, and English boys and girls that love Formula One picked up their German learning from one incident. This is what I keep saying about interest and developing your talent. So if you knew you hated football, but you like rugby, you support the French rugby team. You know what will happen? You will know all the French rugby players. Will you know their names? Yes. Will you know where they are from? Yes. Will you know the French geography therefore? Yes. But that was not a French class. That was a rugby class. Did you get what I'm trying to say? So we're using rugby as a sandwich to be able to deliver what curriculum could not deliver. So that's why I'm saying that curriculum is not only outdated, it's very, very outdated. If you're able to send me a WhatsApp message, I'll send you the app, free app of the book written by Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama came to London and spoke at a school for inner city kids. And picked up children there. One of them was Omotola, one of the students I was mentoring. I didn't even know this. And then when she wrote her biography, she devoted pages to the experience she had in London. I'll give that to you because you need to read it. When you see the inspirational work of what she did in the south side of Chicago, you will wake up every single girl you know and get them into STEM subjects. They will understand science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. For fun, without reading a science textbook, but just going the inspirational example of Michelle. And I'll give this to you for free because I need you to test this new methodology of learning and be able to change from the right-handed person you say you are to the left-handed person. You don't know what I said? You told me you are right-handed. You know that's a lie because you have two hands. The only reason why you are right-handed is that you use your right hand, and then you use your right hand, and then you use it again, but you stop using your left hand. There's nothing wrong with your left hand. You didn't just use it. So what we do is wake up the cells that control the neural pathway of your right side of the brain and be able to deploy both sides. Because if both sides work, you will not just fly through your exam. At the age of 12, you will ask for a past exam paper for a master's level course. Listen to this. You're 12 years old. You ask for a past paper of a master's exam, and you sit down and write it without attending one single lecture with those that did it. So you don't need to physically stay in this class the way I'm staying now. Have somebody standing there on the podium as a fountain of knowledge, flowing down to everybody. That was my grandfather's days. You know what? Now we're on the same level. Because I can make reference to you and you can Google it right now and be able to pick up things on it. Is that true?
Yes.
And then you can read it out to me. So you're empowered to be your self-learning machine. What exactly you were designed to be. And that's what your 5-year-old and your 6-year-old niece or nephew manifest when they got your phone and started playing with it. You were designed as a self-learning machine, not as a student in the classroom with a teacher that knows it all and flowing down to you. You say, but you are saying that you're a professor. Yes. Of the old school. Yes. Of the Jurassic era. Yes. Of those that came with the old definition of what learning is. The new one, I learn from my students as much as they learn from me. It's called an interaction. It's not a lecture. It's not a one-way flow of what can happen and what cannot happen. Because everything I've shared with you now, over 5,000 other people that are not in this room are hearing what I'm saying thanks to Periscope on Twitter.
Wow.
Thanks to LinkedIn, because everything was set up before I started. Thanks to Facebook Live. Thanks to Instagram. So somebody in Australia will pick this up and send me a question later, and they will follow it. So do you understand why I have to reinvent myself if I'm going to be relevant to 2030 and in 2063? That's even more wonderful. Because I exactly know what will happen to your car. I know your car will be able to speak to your fridge at home, and you'll be able to do your shopping in any supermarket without necessarily going home to go and work out how many oranges do I have left. Whether do I say I have milk left? Because your car will be able to speak directly to who? Your fridge. And your fridge will be able to talk to your microwave. And your microwave will be able to talk to your phone. Because the chip that you have in your washing machine, you had 10 years ago, the power of it is decreasing. There's something called Moore's Law. I don't want to bore you with that. It says every 2 years, your computing power doubles, but your computing size shrinks, and therefore the price collapses. The person that wrote it is Gordon Moore. That's why they call it Moore's Law. And you know him. Because every 2 years, he goes into your account and takes £2,000 out. Do you know why? He formed a company called Intel. And Intel is the biggest manufacturer of what? Computer chip. How many of you use the same computer for 4 years without upgrading? Because it slows down, then you get a new computer. That's Intel just applying that simple principle. So that makes him a multi-billionaire using this fundamental principle. So that's why I'm excited about the future. Because the future is a lot brighter than the past. That's why it doesn't bother me whether it's Brexit, Next Street, X Street, or No Street. You know why? Because my goods that are produced in London can be marketed online on the website, and denominated in euros. And the Europeans will still buy it. And then denominated in pounds, and it ends with .co.uk, and the British people will still buy it. Do you understand? And denominated in FR, and say France, and they will still buy it. So they don't know whether the shop is in France or the shop is where? In the UK. So Brexit becomes, thank you very much, my time is on up. Brexit therefore becomes an distract people that like entertainment. It's a philosophical discourse of those that want to look at how Europe will move. Do you know why? Because the national boundaries that existed when I studied geography do no longer exist. Do you know that? The geography of Europe has changed. The geography of Asia has changed. The geography of the national boundaries are artificial. You can sell anything to anybody from Amazon. Did you know that? I wrote a book, I put it on Amazon, I'm in London, I have nothing to do with Japan. It becomes a bestseller in Japan. Never been to Japan before. So is that e-commerce or real commerce? So do you understand why the future is so exciting?
Yes.
I don't care whether they have trade barriers between America and Canada. It doesn't matter. I just end with .com and they think it's America. And if it's Canada, I just end with .ca and they think it's Canadian. Please, just wake up and smell the coffee. I'm happy with the politics, but I want you to be the economist. And there's a big difference between that political discussion and the reality of the economy, where you'll be able to dominate the world from your car garage, from nowhere. We have enough people in a place called Bangalore, India. I close with it. Bangalore used to be a city in India. Do you know why? Because it's one small city. Because the youth of Bangalore understood technology. If you write a letter today in Los Angeles, do you know who is typing the letter? A student in Bangalore, India. So the so-called flourishing power of Bangalore, India, has now completely taken over California. So California is a market, Bangalore is a powerhouse. And I know the world is going to increasingly be that disconnected geographically and economically linked. I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
I have to play this African drum. You know, as he stands here still, I would like to just give you his quick bio, as I always do. He is very shy for me to do that. But it is important for you to understand that to have such people as World Stage, you know, I always tell people, just to meet such people, he's such a humble guy, and that is what I love about our daddy here. And I like to just say he's daddy for all of us, and we love him so much. Professor Chris Imafin Don, Chair and Founder of Excellency in Education Program, London and Oxford, UK. Professor Chris Imafin Don is regarded as a world-renowned consultant to presidents, European and American government, monarchs, and corporate leaders. In brackets, CNN News and ABC News. Father of Britain's brainiest family, he was quoted by BBC and Fox News. Professor Chris Mafidon is a world-renowned scholar and genius mentor par excellence. He is a consultant. He's consulted by American, European, Asian government, presidents, monarchs, and corporate leaders globally. He's the chair and founder of Excellency in Education in London, I've said that. And he was invited to front row seats as a guest at a special 90th birthday service held in Windsor Castle for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth in April 2016. I can read a whole profile, but what I've taken from this is also Britain-based intellectual and has featured in many real-time presentations, as you can see. I'm blessed to have you in my house here today, and I really appreciate the strength that you bring to all our communities. That is why I invited him, because I knew that by the time you go home, you have met him. Recently, his statue lies in Oxford University, and I was watching that on Facebook Live, and I always follow him. Please all follow him as well. And I'm very blessed for you to come into UK Africa Diaspora Forum platform, and especially to givers and to entrepreneur, all of us women and the youth, and of course all the teenagers that are here today. We are blessed to have you. If anybody would like to do a course with him, always feel free to discuss with me as well and to discuss with him. And at this stage, I'm just going to give him a round of applause. I'm just going to bring in a dear friend right now. We've got two more key speakers, and then we are going to bring in a key speaker who is a beautiful, wonderful friend of mine. Give a round of applause to, I call him Godfather. And I love calling him Godfather for me because he wears his hat. So he's Godson. Godson, make your way here, please. And he will introduce to us, his friend. Now remember, we are talking about 2030, and of course we are also talking about 2063. So he's got his friend who he is going to be telling us a little bit about. And his friend ran for governor in Akwa Ibom. So let me leave it to him. And today they're going to tell us about 2063 and what the future looks for in Akwa Ibom state. So we picked that as our case study. Let him tell us what he discovered. And this is just experience for him. Share with us your experience. What was it like? How are the people of Akwa Ibom more? We're going to send them greetings as well in Nigeria. Thank you for coming in and blessing us with bringing us all the gratitudes that you brought from Nigeria. We're blessed to have you. But before that, Godson is the founder of London Ring for Change. Godson is the founder for London Ring for Change. So, sorry, I apologize. It is London Political Summit. I repeat, it's London Political Summit. Thank you for that. And he's going to be touching a little bit before he brings his good friend on platform about 2063. Welcome to the platform. Thank you. Give him a round of applause there. He has to dance for us. No, dance for us. Here.
Yeah, I think it's evening now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure being here, and I'm very happy to support the good work that Juliet Macapila has been doing all these years. She's also been supporting our event. I convene the London Political Summit annually for the last 4 years. And it's been a great moment getting to know Macapila through these platforms. I will not take much of your time because I have to run off to somewhere else again this evening. Going by the theme of this event, this evening, or this particular program, 2030, 2063, what is the future hold for? Coming from a little bit of a political undertone background, I think looking at Africa in terms of what they hope for by 2063, there is an agenda that has been set aside by the African Union to make Africa an inclusive continent that would be ready and prepared to compete globally with the rest of the world. And going by that a commitment, which became a kind of a convention, which the AU signed, the head of states of the AU signed sometime in 2013, to pursue a collective agenda to harness the potentials of Africa make Africa a oneness continent that will become a global player. As we speak today, Africa is not part of the global players. We do not influence anything politically globally. We are the slave servants of the rest of the world. Everybody wants to come to Africa, and not just come to Africa, but they come to Africa, dominate our policies, influence our policies, get our resources, and Africans do relatively nothing to really get into the table of actual discussion to be able to know what benefits they gain from all this whole agenda. And so African leaders feel that there's need for them to harness a potential African collective policy approach to the rest of the world. And if you look at what is happening today, it's about political power struggle. And that is why America today stands out. I'm a very strong believer of realism. In the realist theory, what matters most in international politics is power. Who gets the power to dictate? And we're living in a world of realism. And that is why America today plays the politics of power wherever they are. And the essence of that is to showcase that whenever there is a round discussion about what happens anywhere, America plays a key pivotal role. And now they are seeing a big challenge after the bipolar war. Now we are entering into an era that is defined by many theorists now to become the next multipolar war. Why? Because now we have America showcasing their strength, and at the same time being challenged by China. At the same time being challenged by Russia. And the EU is on that side from the other side of the Atlantic, trying to muscle itself together to become a global player. And why is all this happening? Because people are foreseeing what the future is going to be, 2063. Who are going to determine what happens in the world? Remember, 45 years ago, Britain used to be a key global player politically in the world system. 45 years later, they find themselves being soaked into EU, which means they have no major political absoluteness to make decisions as it affects even Great Britain itself. Because every decision they have to take, they have to put into consideration the other 27 states of the EU. How does that affect them and affect Britain? So what is happening now? Britain is trying to get into this multipolar war by pulling itself out of the EU and become an independent sovereign state of its own. And at that point, now we're going to have America, China, Russia, Britain, and the EU, and the rest of the world. So the game begins if Brexit happens. But then we ask, where is Africa? Where do Africa belong in this global war? After 50 years of independence of over 53 countries in Africa, still yet we still not really realize that we are independent and we have a better role to play. Though in the last 5 years, the EU have been doing all they can to borrow from EU template of integration of the member states. But the mistake the EU is doing is they are carrying out a borrowed integration without applying the African cultural heritage into it. And that brings about the issue of the Pan-Africanist agenda. The Pan-Africanist agenda is about the narratives that makes Africa relevant, the narratives that brings about the cultural heritage of Africa as an African. And for that to be actualized, there's supposed to be a roadmap. And hopefully the roadmap the EU have been setting aside. First of all, they've started with the common currency agenda for African states. They've started with a common language, trying to get Africans to begin to speak a language that belongs to African. Now they started the whole of East Africa to implement Swahili as a common language that will be spoken in the AU General Assembly meetings with regards to Arab, French, and English. But what they're trying to do is to see how they can take away these foreign languages and make Swahili, Arab, and Afrikaans as the spoken language in AU Assembly meetings in order to create an African content, an African influence, an African brand that will enable Africa to stand in the emerging global multipolar agenda that will become the engine between 2023 to the next generation, the next 50 years. Many of us may not understand this, but I believe we get to understand when Brexit hits the road and the reality of Brexit begins to unfold. We'll begin to see that this is all about global politics. This is about power. This is about who has that power. And that is one of the key things that I believe as AU begin to look forward to harnessing that potentials among African leaders, harness that potentials among African states, and looking at the emerging scenario in Africa with the fourth wave of democracy in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Libya, and the rest of the Arab continent, we could see the emerging trend that is steering forward towards that future vision of 2063. But one thing I want to leave with you is, in as much as we all are here in the diaspora, we also have to understand that we need to do our best to have that connection, have that absolute connection to our various homeland countries in order to be able to give that possible view of what the world is looking at or anticipating about Africa and how Africans can react to those issues. You look at what happened in Russia, where Africans went to Russia to sell themselves out to Putin, and Putin promising huge amount of money of investment. All that is trading without any potential influence of that African content in it. And so 2063 is about what Africa will look like 50 years after many of the independent countries gained independence 50 years ago. Are we still going to be the same African? I may not be alive then, some of us may not be alive then, but it's about these kids here. Are they going to be better off 2063? I would like to invite my friend who was one of those who ran for a political position in Nigeria when they said not too young to rule in Nigeria, which means that Nigerians today are beginning to showcase themselves from a youthful age to seek for electoral positions in the country. And he's one of those who came up, but unfortunately, he couldn't get to where he wanted to get to politically. But he's here to make a case at the ICCJ over certain stringent issues that are mounted on him as a political individual who the state tried to stagnate his possibility to be in office. And so I'll give him the microphone to just say a few things about his experience in Nigerian politics and what he experienced in Akwa Ibom and what he thinks he can get from going to the ICCJ to make his case for that. Please help me to welcome Honorable Iboro Otu.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Yes, I've been around for a while here, and I'm listening to all the great things that makes this country so great. And all my hope is to see how I can borrow some of the ideals and some ideas here, get them implemented back home in Africa. so happy to be here and to share my experience. Just like everything I've heard here, the idea is to get people to become better and to improve society. And one of the ways to do that is to engage politically, because it's political power that scales whatever we can do in this world. Like the richest man in my country, or Bill Gates, could do a lot in America and around the world. But my governor can affect 6 million people immediately, because he has the resources that comes in every 6 months, every month. And he has a team from across the world, tribal people that are scattered everywhere to work with. I come from a state that has the biggest gas reserve in West Africa and the second highest in terms of petroleum resources availability in the country. So we have a GDP of $50 billion and 6 million intelligent people, arable land, and a lot more to offer. But we're not doing really great because of the political dynamics, and we know it in Nigeria and Africa. So I tried to engage the system to see how we can change the narrative. Not just myself, but a lot of other people. I got a form contested. Out of 41 candidates, we came third, even though the result didn't reflect the true nature of the election. As a result of that, myself and my party decided to get into the Election Petition Tribunal. But this is where it gets interesting. Because in Africa, in Nigeria especially, certain people believe they own power and allocate certain powers to themselves that are not constitutional. As such, we were unable to get into the Election Petition Tribunal because certain people didn't believe we should. And we went to the traditional courts to get this sorted. The courts wouldn't entertain us. All through the period of 6 months now, no one is listening to us, even though it's our right to do so. And this happens in a lot of African countries. But what happens is most politicians don't understand they have other courts to go to and other things that can help them ventilate their displeasure. So I'm here because I'm going to the International Criminal Court to showcase an African problem using academics as a case study, as a focal point. Because what is happening in my state is what's happening across Nigeria and across Africa. And I believe we can help change the political narrative so great people can get in and get Africa to work. So I thank you so much for having me here. I know the time is short and I appreciate you so much. May God bless us all and may we make the world a better place.
Thank you. And I'm just going to quickly do an interview, just a quick one, just asking you questions. How did it feel running for elections in your place in Nigeria?
It was really very challenging because the incumbent government, they have so much money and power. They tried to buy all my people, even myself. They sent a lot of money across. And again, very dangerous as well. I was attacked many times in my office, in my home. But we kept struggling. It's not as it is here, where you can, go out and tell people to vote for you and sell you ideas. Over there, it's much more dangerous to go out and do that. And also, the poverty makes it very hard for people to take a stand that's really ideological. So we did employ a lot of very creative ways of engaging people by showing them what's possible and what could be done, and also empowering them through my NGO, Alert Nigeria, with little projects in communities, show them that these little projects can be scaled 1 million times or 1,000 times to better their lives. So it's very interesting, very interesting.
And what is the future of the youth in Akwa Ibom?
The future looks great, just like Professor Kim said. I really buy into his idea. Because of the future of technology, I believe we can help move our people quicker than we would have naturally. That's why we are struggling really hard to get good governance so we can get our people together to speed in no time. I believe the future is bright. I believe very much that the African narrative will change if we have good leaders.
What is your number one, number one advice for African countries?
That we economically engage by empowering our people and politically get right leaders in place, because that's where true change begins. So I believe I would advise us as Africans to integrate more, work more within ourselves and understand, even though our problems are basically the same, and just find out what works in any country, then copy and paste across.
Would you like to share with us what political party you are in? Or the ticket you are running in?
Yeah, it's called ANRP, Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party. It's a new party and party of ideas.
And you were the party leader, or?
I was a candidate.
You were the candidate in your state. Give a round of applause and thank you so much to Godson, who enjoys to bring us all kind of matters around Africa. So we appreciate Godson for bringing you here today. Thank you for that. Is there one advice you would give the youth in London? What is the advice you would give into London here for the youth?
I believe there's a lot here for young people. I mean, they're very endowed. And when I read about the knife crimes and all that, it's quite a pity because if they understand the wealth of access and information and support this country gives to them, they'll not waste a second to think about. I mean, I understand there's racism, but in my country there's ethnicism. I come from the same Nigeria, but certain people believe I can't get somewhere because I'm from a minority. So I think we should put things in perspective, and when they do, I believe, I understand their struggles, but compared to what we're facing back at home. So I've been crossing the river together.
Thank you. So migration issues, and we thank you for sharing us your experience and your case study. We wish you the best as you go to the EU. Let us know how you carry on. Many, many thanks. Thank you for that. And at this stage, I'm going to be bringing in a wonderful key speaker, the Minister of Yemen. As he arrives here, give him a round of applause. We celebrate him, the ambassador, and somebody will translate his language. Can I bring Hagi here to introduce the minister for us? Give a round of applause to Hagi, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome Dr. Mustafa Khalid and Faris Muhammad from the
Hi everyone, my name is Faris and Dr. Mustafa there. He doesn't speak English very well, so I thought stay on the table. I'm from YCG, which is Yemeni Cultural Gathering. We're trying basically to gain awareness about the problems that happen in London, the knife crime, also trying to implement what I've had the gentleman there talk about education. We're trying to focus in improving the education in our Yemeni community. Also trying to have more connection with other communities around. I spoke to the councillor, Victoria. I've worked with the previous communities, Afro-Caribbean, the Ghanaian community, Asian communities. I learned a lot from them. I'm trying, always to take from there and implement it in our community. Especially now when I came back to London to finish my university, I've realized there's a lot of my community are in different places. It's not in one area or one borough. So all my job with Dr. Mustafa's support when he came to work in the embassy is there's a war right now in Yemen. Basically, the war started 5 years ago, and because of this, a lot of people are coming from Yemen outside to different places. And when I got to know Dr. Mustafa, I approached him and I told him about the problems that are happening in here for our community, or let's say maybe a lot of us had the same problems with their community. So I had a lot of support from him. Just because he was the minister right now at that time, and because of the problems that happened in Yemen, it was good for me that he stayed here. So it was a coincidence, but I thought it meant to be. So that's why we tried to implement all the experience I had, plus his connection and knowledge, especially he's a politician, and also he worked on many different places in Yemen, to try and improve our Yemeni community, and also to engage with other communities around London and outside the UK. And it was a pleasure to be invited here and to be with Julia. Yeah, and thanks to Hajar, she's one of our candidates. She worked a lot with us, trying to get us to know a lot of our communities. We're trying to all to work together, because at the end, it's our children,
Our future.
our future. And I appreciate being here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Faris. Dr. Mustafa over there is an artist and also he is a journalist and writer. And besides that, as a community leader, we are inspired by him. So since he came to London, the community are not pulling together, but Dr. Mustafa pulled all the community together. And the young children that hanging around the street and they have families here, they don't listen. Dr. Mustafa speaks to their family and they bring them in. And every Sunday, he have a program in the park. He brings them along and educates them. And Faris has to drive around and collect these young children and bring them along, and then give them education and tell them their backgrounds. And it is a good experience. And besides that, we do a lot of events for families and gathering people together. And so really, that is the way, like people knowing their roots and also they know their families and where they come from. It is very good experience, which I work a lot with people in Brent, and especially gang and knife crimes and violence and so many things. So Dr. Mustafa was great. He actually brings community together, and he speaks actually of awareness, because nobody listens to people here. So I'm very grateful to him and grateful to Faris, my colleague here in the forum. So they work hard day and night. Since he comes, we have heard about the 80 events that is bringing people together. Wow.
أنا بالحقيقة سعيد بوجودي معكم. مساء الخير.
It was a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone.
الحقيقة أنا لي هنا في لندن حوالي 4 سنوات فقط.
I've been here in UK for the last 4 years.
لكن من خلال نزولي الميداني واجتماعي مع الجاليات بالذات الجالية اليمنية.
And from me coming to different meetings with different communities in these 4 years.
في برمنغهام وشفيلد وليفربول ولندن أيضا.
I've been to different places in UK, Birmingham, London, Sheffield, Liverpool, trying to engage in different communities and learn of different backgrounds.
لا شك أن الثقافة البريطانية ثقافة جارفة.
The British culture in general and the British values and attracted him to learn more about it.
لذلك لاحظت أغلب الأطفال العرب أو اليمنيين وحتى الأفارقة بشكل عام.
And from my experience, I've seen a lot of similar things in children, like the Arabs, Yemenis, or Africans, are the same. They have the same connections.
تجرفهم الثقافة البريطانية القوية.
They also attract the British culture and attracted all together to this same community.
إلى درجة أنهم نسوا لغتهم الأم. بلادهم الأصلية.
And he found this a lot of them that they lost their language and some heritage.
فكنا نعمل على أساس أن يقوم الأطفال وأهاليهم بالمحافظة على ثقافتهم الأصلية.
And that's how we started to think to gather all the communities together and trying to implement a connection between the British values and the community, especially for the Yemeni community, to gain all to collect all this together.
حتى الثقافة واللغة الإنجليزية يعني لازم تكون أيضا موجودة.
And that's again with
لأنها لغة مدرسة لغة العلم والتعليم.
And that's with the connection with the English language and within the British values. to have like a bridge between their heritage or and the way we live in.
لكن لا يعني ذلك أن يذوبوا في المجتمع البريطاني.
Yeah, with the connect with the British community.
وأن يحتفظوا بشخصيتهم الأصلية.
And they stand out. All the minority to stand out in the places they live in.
مع مسايرة المجتمع البريطاني وخدمة البلد الجديد.
Yeah, with the rules and with the rules in the UK plus and learning the lessons to improve.
ليكونوا إيجابيين في مجتمعهم الجديد وفي نفس الوقت يظل امتدادهم إلى البلد الأصلي بغاية الأهمية.
Yeah, to provide a positive implementation to the community with having their heritage still with them for the new generation.
لذلك قمنا عدة فعاليات.
And that's why we had to do many events to get the Yemeni community together to know about their culture, their heritage.
وحاولنا أن تكون هذه الفعاليات
And we tried to make this events
امتداد للثقافة الأم.
A connection between Europe and the Yemen.
من العادات والتقاليد والمأكولات.
We'll bring all the tradition, the heritage, to connection with all the food, the whole style. We used to bring a lot of different communities to the same event just to get all cultures together.
والأغاني والفن والدانسينج.
Music and dancing, yeah.
والحمد لله نجحنا في هذا.
And thanks God we hopefully succeed after 1 year of.
والناس استحسنوا الفكرة.
And many communities that came to our events, they were happy and.
وحتى الأطفال كانت بالنسبة لهم شيء محبب جدا.
And the children were very pleased and very excited.
وبدأوا يحنوا للعودة إلى بلدهم للزيارة.
And they were happy to go and visit their countries.
شكرا جزيلا على إتاحة هذه الفرصة.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mustafa, Khalid, and of course Hagi. Give a round of applause to Hagi, our volunteer, who brought these two special people. Yes, and explained to me. And you know, when I talk, what really pioneered me is when I think about Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, all these other countries. Sometimes, you know, Africans sometimes are not talking together. And I thought, what a special occasion for us to be honored.
نتمنى أن تحضروا فعاليتنا القادمة بشكل عام. سنرسل لكم الدعوات الرسمية وإن شاء الله تكونوا موجودين معنا في هذه المناسبات القادمة.
He's hoping that you attend his next. He will send you an invitation. And I heard that about Dr. Mustafa is coming. Went to Coventry and Midland. Actually, in West Midland, it was the first time that there is a conflict between the communities in West Midland and police. So we had held an event about 1,200 people attended between the police and communities. That it was the first time ever to happen in West Midland, that is community living. And last week we have been awarded by the police force.
Absolutely, a big congratulations. Give a round of applause because, you know, with us, we're a community learning space over here. So we are delighted to work with all different communities. We're the UK Africa Diaspora Forum here. We bring all together different communities and your home here. Anytime we have an occasion, we will invite you, you invite us. Who would like to go to Yemen? We have conflict there, but if you'd like to go to their next event, please just inbox me. Many thanks and thanks for addressing us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. How are you feeling? DJ music, cheer this room up. Here we go again. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, we are still cheered up. We really appreciate the people of Yemen. We send greetings to the people of Yemen. So I'm delighted. May I also welcome our winner here, Miss Sexy UK. She's done here. She's baked a cake. So we're still going to be eating the cake that she's baked. Can you give a round of applause because she's in with us here? Thank you so much. My next speaker is Rosaline Fadipe. Get ready. Make your way in front here. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's got a lot. She's going to be talking to us about reforms and the universal credit system. And she is absolutely geared and has her topic for today is youth entrepreneurship and welfare reforms towards 2030. So you're welcome, and this is your stage, and we love you so much. Thanks for being patient with us. Thank you. Give a round of applause here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been quite a long day, so I know quite a lot of you might be not as sharp with your attention as you were before. So I promise not to spend too much time. As Juliet nicely introduced me, my name is Rosalind Fadipe. I call myself a social engineer. I work in local authorities in mostly welfare benefits and policy. Most of what I do has to do with the benefit system. I'm sure Mayor Victoria will be aware of quite a lot of it. I've worked in your borough at a point in time as an income recovery officer. So most of the policies I do help people apply for benefits either to pay their rent or to sustain themselves as a form of income. The United Kingdom was initially set up as a welfare state, which is why people were getting benefits, what they call the gyro system. In 2013, they introduced what was called the welfare reform. That was to try and get a lot of people who are on benefits to try and get them into work. My topic here, which is youth entrepreneurship and welfare reform, will just reflect the actual aspect that has to do with youth. When we talk about youth, in Nigeria, we tend to look at it fairly differently. Here, there's a specific age group. A youth is a child from the age of 18 to 19 years old. Sorry, from the age of 16 to 19 years old. In Nigeria, we tend to have people who head youth organizations who are actually in their 40s and sometimes in their 50s. So obviously, we look at it from a slightly different point of view. So basically, most of the youth in this country, as quite a number of speakers have mentioned, some of them are involved in education, some of them are involved in music. Unfortunately, we also have some who have been involved in some elements of crime or social disturbances. When you look at the youth in the UK, they've been combating 4 very essential situations since the welfare reform has been introduced. The first one is the index of homelessness has increased amongst youths, because now the housing benefit is no longer applicable. Most of them get their rent paid by universal credit, which means if you're between the ages of 18 and 35, you will only get what's called a single room rent. So if you rent a 1-bedroom flat, they will not pay the rent for that whole flat. They will only pay the rent that is applicable to 1 room, which they believe is enough for you to house yourself. So a lot of the youth have found themselves homeless because they've built up rent arrears, or because they were living with their parents who decided they no longer want to take care of them, which we call parental eviction. So they come to the council with a letter saying, oh, my parents have asked me to move out of the house, and we have to put them in 1 room because that's all what they're entitled to. That's all the single room rent is. The second issue has been unemployment. A lot of youths have found it difficult to get jobs. When I first came back into the country, I was born here, but I grew up partly in Nigeria, and I came back in 1991. A lot of youths come out of GCSEs, you could get holiday jobs, summer jobs, or jobs just to tide you over till you start your A-levels, or if you decide you don't want to go into university, you do a job where you can get apprenticed, you learn on the job, and eventually you become made permanent there. So a lot of, especially within the West Indian community, I met a lot of people who actually started working maybe in the council, from the age of 19. But nowadays, that is not exactly the same situation. So there's a higher level of unemployment since the welfare reform has come in. A lot of youth are also battling mental health, which I believe one or two other earlier speakers have mentioned. And they're also battling a lot of financial problems because they're not able to cope with living on their own, having the universal credit paid directly into their rent accounts, or having the universal credit personal allowance paid into their accounts. They find it difficult to sustain themselves. So they come back to the council for help. Now, with youth entrepreneurship, welfare reform is trying to see how universal credit can help them get back into work or set up small or medium enterprises, or what we call SMEs. So we have situations where you go to certain councils, they have a job shop, they have a back to work, they have a work zone, or they have an iWork team. The welfare reform teams are the ones who try and help these youths. If they're looking at setting up an entrepreneurship, there are certain organizations that actually can help them. The most important, the most popular one that a lot of people might have heard of here is called the Prince's Trust, which is owned by the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles. They train up youths, they mentor them, they also provide certain grants that can actually help them to set up business if they already know what they want to do. And if they don't, within the mentoring program, they tend to direct them to certain interests that they might have to help them build up a desire to start up a small business in that respect. There's also another organization called the Youth Enterprise Live. They also provide grants as well as startup loans. They service those loans at a rate of 6%, and there's a certain tenure within which they expect you to be able to return the money that you've been borrowed. There's also